Okay, it's 7:35 evening in Japan and we are ready to go. Hello everyone, my name is Sasha. I'm in charge of partnerships and growth at Wagon Tokyo and I'm very happy to welcome you all to our tonight's panel discussion with global startups who succeeded in entering Japanese market. And first of all, let me introduce very quickly them. Meet Aaron, who is the CTO of Israeli-based startup EasySend. Also, please meet Pratik, who is the CEO of the Singapore-based startup Neum. And I also want to say hi and please meet Takaki, Executive Director of Vertex Holdings, who will be facilitating this event tonight with me. And before we move on to the main talk, the main reason why you all guys came here today, I would like to give a very short intro to the companies which are behind today's event. And probably I would like to start from myself first. As usual, let me spare a couple of minutes of your time to share my screen. Cool. As I already mentioned before, my name is Sasha. I'm in charge of partnerships and growth at Wagon Tokyo. And what is Wagon? It's a global coding bootcamp where we strive to bring tech education to masses. We help our students to upskill themselves through technology and also to change their career into tech using our intensive courses in web development and data science, where we help people to code. We help people learn how to code, how to build web applications from scratch, and also how to use and manipulate data. We teach in two formats, full-time format 9-week for those who want to learn tech right now, and for those who have some family or work commitment, we offer part-time program. Go a bit stats about ourselves that we are proud to show off to the audience. We are top-ranked bootcamp worldwide, and we are originally from France, Paris. Since we started in 2013, we had almost like over 10,000 students who went through our coding bootcamps in 40 cities around the world. Since we are very product-oriented bootcamp, 90% of the time, the students are coding. And so it's natural that during the bootcamp, they end up creating an MVP for their product. And also they team up with their batchmates. And after the graduation, a lot of them launch their startups. As you can see, globally, the number of the startups that were born out of the Wagon coding bootcamps will hit 300 companies soon. In Tokyo campus, 10% of our students actually become entrepreneurs after graduation. We also provide a B2B training solution for companies in Japan and globally, depending on the needs that they have. Those training programs start from 1 day to several months, once again, depending on the needs of the company. And my last slide about our Tokyo campus, which is located, if you're familiar with Tokyo, 7 minutes walk from Meguro Station at the co-working place called Impact Hub Tokyo. There are a lot of entrepreneurs and very inspiring community residing there. And we also run a dynamic tech community events like this, that we partner with amazing companies like Vertex. We deliver hands-on workshops and tech talks with speakers to our community. And that's probably all from my side. If guys, you have any questions about the Wagon coding bootcamps, or you would like to ask me about the partnerships, feel free to send me a message or use the QR code on my background. And now I'm giving the microphone to Takaki. Takaki, please go on.
Hi, yeah, thanks Sasha for the tee up, and it's great to meet all of you. Thank you very much for spending your time to join us today. I'm so excited to meet all of you. Let me just use a couple of slides to share who we are and who I am. So my name is Takaki Nakamura. I'm a Japanese and I'm based in Singapore. And I'm the head of Japan team at Vertex Holdings Partnership Group. For those who use Sansan or those who not actually, you can just scan my QR code to download my name card. So please feel free to do so. A few things about our company. So We are a global venture capital platform, and we're based in Singapore under Temasek, which is the Singapore government fund. And we operate all across the key ecosystems, like you can see in the slides. So we have a team in China, in Israel, in Southeast Asia, India, as well as US. And we primarily invest in IT, technology, as well as healthcare. And we usually help seed stage to Series A stage founders, but we also have a vehicle to help their future rounds like Series C and Series D. And one thing I must highlight is the Japanese LP investors we have today. We have 7 Japanese LPs joining our Vertex Master Fund. And my role is not to invest. What I do is I help the partnerships. So I connect our portfolio companies with enterprises, especially I have a focus on Japanese enterprises as a Japanese. Okay, then just a few numbers, I'll just keep it short. We have 90 VC professionals in total. We manage over 4 billion USD, and we have more than 200 active portfolio companies today. And as I mentioned, I help partnerships. So I engage a lot of Japanese corporates who are seeking for innovation opportunities. So typically, team I speak to in my life is like new business development or digital or innovation departments at large enterprises in Japan. So we have quite a few portfolio companies across these areas like fintech to security, consumer internet, as well as enterprise automation. And today we've brought in 2 brilliant guests. One from fintech side. So we have Pratik from Neum from Singapore, and we have EasySend Aaron from enterprise automation and AI space. So I'm very excited to have a discussion, and I'm hoping to bring in useful insights and findings for all of you. So with that, I will end my introduction and hand it over to Pratik to talk a bit about yourself and your company. So I'll stop my slide here. And Pratik, do you mind sharing your screen?
Yes, can you see?
Yes.
Good. Hi everyone. Nice to be here, and I'll happily take questions later. But let me just give a quick intro to what we are. So what we say is that, and I'm gonna deliberately try and keep it very simple, because fintechs or tech companies generally can they can try and be very technical. So I'm not sure what kind of audience it is we have. So I'll try and make it as simple to understand as possible. So in terms of capabilities, what we say is that we have 3 core capabilities. One is what we call send. Now, send means that, in simple terms, it's a cross-border payment ability for either individuals or companies, and we are much better priced, etc. Compared to a bank. We charge in, sort of fractions of what a bank could charge. So, that's why a number of banks also use us to send money from one country to another, but a large component is also individuals. The second part is called spend, and spend basically means that, we have the ability, like a bank, to issue cards. So, these could be prepaid cards, so either Visa or MasterCard, and we have the ability to, let's say, some company wants to issue cards to their employees or to their list of customers, we can do it on their behalf. The third is receive, and receive is kind of a opposite of send. So assume, let's say, there's an exporter in a country who wants to collect funds in another country. We provide the ability to give multi-currency accounts in another country so that the exporter can start collecting funds in that other country, right? So in very simplistic terms, that's what are the three things that we do. It's a 5-year-old company, and we've raised about $100 million. And what we've got out of it is 200 clients globally, some 130 million end customers. We are operational in some 6 different continents. And in all, so the whole purpose of this is to sort of give you the impression that we are fairly sizable. We have several licenses, which I will talk about in a minute. But before that, to take from where Takaki also just finished. So one of our key investors is Vertex, and we are also getting Temasek recently, pretty soon. So we'll have Temasek and Vertex, a couple of their ventures directly invested in us. And besides that, we've got Visa, and we've got a whole lot of other companies, including a couple of banks through their investment arms. So what we have is one of the key things that gives us the differentiator is the fact that in many of the countries that we operate, the central bank requires us to take a special license of some sort or the other. So for instance, in the case of Japan, we've got a remittance license, and that allows us to not only do remittance, but also to be able to issue cards, the way that I described it earlier, right? So in that sense, we've got, the entire Europe covered, US, Malaysia. So many of the difficult markets we've already got. And some of the clients that we've got. So a number of top banks around the world, especially in the Asia and the Middle East region, basically use us to make payments, remittance payments. So not remittance, actually retail payments on their behalf into other countries. So that's like a quick capsule form of intro from my side. Thank you.
Awesome, Pratik. Then let's hear from Aaron from EasySend. Aaron, over to you.
Thank you, Takaki. All right, cool. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. So nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Aaron, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer for EasySend, also one of the founders. So EasySend, actually, our product is a no-code platform that aims to simplify life for enterprise organizations like banks and insurance companies. And the idea is very simple. So today, enterprise companies in the financial sector, they manage a lot of different processes for their end users. So imagine a bank wants to onboard new users online and offer a simple to use service for people to be able to open a bank account or join a new loan application, or for submitting claims to insurance companies. So typically a financial company will have hundreds of different processes that they have to code manually with their internal development teams, and that takes a lot of effort. So what we're trying to do is make the process of creating these amazing experience much simpler for them, and also make sure that they can maintain it over time with all the regulatory changes they have to do, and improve it for their end users. So see if people are enjoying the process, how it works for them, and make sure the process always improves. And this provides a better experience for both the end users that get a modern digital experience with a high quality design, and also an amazing experience for the company itself, because they don't have to deal with a lot of paper forms and type things manually into their systems. Everything flows automatically to the organizational system, and we skip a lot of paperwork and manual effort. We've been active since 2016 and raised 16 million to date, most of them by Vertex Ventures and also by Intel Capital and Hanako Ventures. And we already have customers in 4 different continents, and we're growing very rapidly. So I just gave an example of one from each continent. So we have Sompo Insurance here in Japan. We have R&V, which is one of the largest insurance companies in Germany. We have Cincinnati Insurance, which is one of the largest insurance companies in the US, and Sanlam, which is the largest insurance company in Africa. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Awesome.
Back
Thanks,
to you.
Aaron. Yep. Yeah, given today's theme that I mean, how to break into the Japan market with a B2B product, I will definitely dig into your sample story. But before that, I'd like to take this opportunity to understand who we have as our audience today. So I'm trying to use two questions to understand who you are and what made you join this session. I hope the polls work well. Let me see. Do you see a question popping up? Sasha, do you see it? Is it
Not yet.
Yeah,
Not yet.
I can see.
Oh,
Okay.
you can see.
Maybe that's because I'm the host.
All right,
Go.
obviously. Okay, just two simple questions. So the first question is who you are. Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a venture capitalist? Or are you a corporate employee? This means, are you from a Japanese corporate, like one from a digital or innovation or new business creation, corporate planning department? Or you could be a job seeker or a student. And then the second question is, what made you to attend this event? So if you are interested in collaborating with startups, that's brilliant. Are you looking for some investment opportunities? Or maybe you could be a startup looking at entering Japan market, or maybe you want to work for a startup. So please let us know about yourself. I'm going to end this poll in 1 or 2 minutes. I'll just wait for a while.
Kaki, just a quick one. I just want to make sure that because a large percentage seems to be company employee. So what does that mean? What is the intention of, I mean, who is supposed to be in that category?
Those from Japan, Japanese enterprises. Looking for partnership opportunities with startups.
Okay. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure it's that. Okay.
Thanks for clarifying.
Cool. And it's good that we also have a Japanese translation. For those who feel more comfortable reading and answering in Japanese, feel free to use the Japanese.
And we want to make this session interactive. So if you can, please turn your camera on, and we love to be interrupted. So please feel free to raise any type of questions you have in the chat or can verbalize. It looks like my 2-year-old son just pinched his finger in the door, so I might get interrupted. Sorry for that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope he's okay.
Yeah, he's crying and stomping around. Okay, I think I'm ending the poll soon. Let's see. Okay, so I end it and try to share the results. Okay. Is it up, Aaron?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, great. So it looks like half of you are from an enterprise, and like around 10% of you, we have founders and VCs and job seekers. Okay, great. And then, right, it looks like many of you are curious about Japanese startup ecosystem. Okay, that's interesting. All right, I think that's very helpful for us to understand the audience. Okay, then let's jump into the Q&A session. We have about 30 minutes plus to go. So given today's theme, I would probably start from the most important question. So why you entered, or why you're trying to enter Japan market? And it sounds like an obvious one, but I guess each company has different background and thesis. So would you like to share a bit about how you look at Japan? Aaron, Pratik, anyone who's ready to go?
Okay.
Yeah, I can start. You wanna go,
No, please. I think it'll be best if you actually, do this. Otherwise, we'll just be talking over each other.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead,
Probably.
Aaron.
I think for us, the decision was very simple. So first of all, we understood that the market opportunity, especially in the financial sector and in the insurance sector, is huge in Japan. So, organizations are managing trillions of USD, are based here. I think the market is very open to innovation and looking for tools to innovate. And actually, a lot of our initial interactions were started by inbound leads. That means companies reaching out to us, trying to understand what our technology can provide. And so the transition to actually choose this market as one of our main markets was very natural for us.
All right, sounds great. And how about you, Pratik?
So Japan is a very important market, and it's for a number of reasons, right? Uh, One prime reason being that it's not only is it a big market, but also a difficult market, and I'll explain that to you in a bit. Um, it's firstly it's expensive to send money from Japan or into Japan, and also to get a relationship going with the bank, because bank relationship is one of the key things that we have to do when we enter a country. And by first hand experience, we know that any country which generally has a lot of difficult regulations, difficult local systems, or expensive systems, and in particular banking relationships are difficult to come by,
Yeah.
then the sense of opportunity is that much higher in that country. And from our perspective, Japan sort of ticks all those boxes very well. And the other thing, of course, is the fact that it's a large market, and one of the key things that it's been one of the big markets which has been hitherto missing. So a large customer comes to us, a corporate customer, saying we want to issue, or we want to make payments into 40 countries, of which Japan is definitely one of them. The fact that we don't have something in Japan is like a big weakness for us, so we have to be there, right? So in that sense, it's an important one for us.
I see. When did you start approaching the market, and at that time, how long did you expect it would take?
Want me to do that? Okay. So we actually started about 3 years ago, and giving you a sense of how difficult the market is, it took us more than 2 years from the time the application was put in with the central bank for us to get the license. One of the only countries which has taken that much time. The second one being
Really?
Indonesia, a distant, further kind of away. So that should give you a sense. But now that we have the license, we are still struggling to get the banking relationships into place. We are just getting, the country manager. Finally, we've got hold of somebody who's joining on February 1st. So it's a measure of, so it's taken us, I think, end to end must be about 2.5 years.
That's a long time. And I guess building relationships with banks is also another really tough one. Okay, I'd like to ask the same question to Aaron. So when did you start, and how long did you expect to take?
So we started a bit later, I'd say around 1.5 years ago, something like that. We also knew it's gonna take time. I think for us, the preconditions might have been simpler because we didn't have to get like a specific permit or something like that in order to get started. We could just approach companies and start doing business with them.
Okay.
But I think for us, it was really all about understanding the way Japanese companies think, and we had to find someone that works with us closely and really understand the Japanese business culture and the Japanese language, and also the regulation that applies to our potential customers, insurance companies and banks. So overall, I think we were able to launch a proof of concept very quickly, but it did take us the time to actually turn this from a proof of concept together with Sompo, which was our first customer, to a fully functioning product. So it did take more than a year to do that.
Yeah, I can easily imagine that. What was the first thing that you did when you decided to approach Japan? Did you look for somebody that tells you about the market? Did you start from a desktop research, or did you try to hire somebody? Could you add some color on that?
Yeah, so for us, I think the key part was to find this partner, and we've actually started with an ex-Japanese based now in Israel, where our headquarters is, and it really helps us. So we did several sessions just for understanding and analyzing the market. And also, she helped us with all the calls and in translations and in conducting the session itself, and also during training sessions. So as a part of our solution, we're doing a lot of training sessions on the product and helping our customers better understand it. So she really helped us along the way. And I think the most important part, it's today, the way business works worldwide has really changed. So a lot of the things you had to do face-to-face is now done remotely. So I think it's okay to use someone that's not necessarily based physically in Japan, at least to get started, but definitely someone that either has an experience working with the Japanese market, speaks the Japanese language, understands the regulatory barriers. That's really, really important, because otherwise it's really hard for someone from outside to understand the way to approach this market.
Yeah, that makes sense. Pratik, you want to add something on?
No, so our business is fairly different, I think, from Iran's. So in our case, since we have to deal with the central bank and take approvals from them, it necessarily needed, and we were pretty clear about, the market potential. So that was never a question. We had ready customers, who had been asking us, to provide the ability to make a local payment and issue cards locally. But when we approached one of the lawyers to help us make that application, uh, we found from the central bank that actually we needed a local representative to even be able to give the application to the central bank. Okay, so that was the first. So we have essentially paid someone who is a retired banker, and by the way, we have a Japanese investor as well. So SBI is one of our investors, right? So, and they referred us to this one person, retired person from SBI, who qualifies all of the ticks as far as the bank is concerned. And for 2 years, we basically paid him a retainership fee while we were waiting for the license to come through. So it's been a grind, to be honest with you. But I guess once it's there, it'll be worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, and it just serve as a very high barrier for your competitors to do the same thing in the same market.
Thank you, guys. Sorry for interrupting. We have a question in the chat that would be interesting to feature. The question is about the team makeup in Japan, and you guys mentioned about making your first local hire, but how have you built up the team structure? If you managed to hire more than one person, how did you build up the team?
Okay, I'll go there. So in our case, it was word of mouth, because honestly, we've just done first we had a retainer who's a consultant, and it's only now that we managed to get a country manager. The country manager basically is a very specialized position, so it needed to be word of mouth. But the incremental positions that we will now be hiring, whether it is compliance, operations, tech, will all be done through some methodology within the country by putting it on LinkedIn, putting it on other search engines.
And Aaron, do you have any comments on this one?
I mean, like for us, we still are working completely remotely and don't have physical presence. So maybe I can't add too much value.
Okay.
But I think next year is going to be the year that we'll actually establish our on country office. So.
Oh, really? Oh, I can't wait to support that. Right, great. And it seems like we have another very interesting question. Should we pick this up now? How do you find the right contact person in Japanese companies? Example, trade shows, or do you choose web inquiry forms? I love this question. Who wants to go?
I can take it. I think from our point of view, the Japanese market was maybe similar to how we operated in other areas like the US, for example. So it really depends on the type of contacts that you need to find. And I think one of the main challenges for a startup is to understand really who is the buyer and who you need to approach. And for us, we've identified two types of buyers. So one of them is the IT department of insurance companies and banks. And the other one is a business department with a specific requirement for a process that needs to be digitized. Mm-hmm. So we are taking a different approach to each of these. So for example, in the IT department, we understood that we need probably someone relatively high in the chain. So maybe the CIO, or for smaller companies, the VP of applications, or someone like a director that manages applications in the company. So this is something we try to do, leveraging our network, our investors, trying to reach out as much as possible through our network. And for example, to reach out to the business department, so we try to approach a lot of the innovation departments, which are really looking for this kind of startups with modern solutions. And so it's like a completely different approach for each kind of sell. Mm-hmm. But I think it worked for us very similarly to how we do it in other states as well.
I see. Yeah, that really makes sense. I guess, talking about these things and actually doing things is quite different. So could you share any like examples of platforms you leveraged, or specific events or specific partners that really helped you to open doors?
Yeah, so actually, I have to say, not because it's you, Takaki, but Vertex were very helpful for us. So we've been working with our local representative that did business development on behalf of Vertex, and she really helped us reach out to several companies in Japan. Specifically for Sompo, actually, we had a really cool opportunity that they've actually opened an innovation lab based in Israel. Mm-hmm. So it was really easier for us to reach out to there. And also we try to actively find people in events and get in contact with them through email, and to just send a short description of our offering and see if it rings any bells. So that's kind of how it works.
I see. So maybe there are many options, and you have to obviously try everything. But I know that many VC investors in Japan are also quite open and motivated to help their portfolio companies and do the matchmaking with the enterprises. So maybe in the future, it's a good idea to get a Japanese VC investor in your cap table, so that for the Japan part, they can help to expand your network. Pratik, how about you? Were there any examples you'd like to share when finding the right contact person in Japanese companies?
So we haven't actually contacted a lot of Japanese companies, but one thing I think I do agree with is that firstly, generally, any new country you go to, you do need some local expertise. That's not very different.
Mhm.
So for instance, we had to tap, which, for instance, the lawyer do we go to is also something that we sort of try to find out from some of our, contacts who've already been there.
Mhm.
And that makes a huge amount of difference. So in this case, for instance, we are now relying on, Takaki. I mean, you have also helped us a lot when we were trying to do an integration with the local bank, uh,
Yep.
to help us find the right company who is a tech company who can actually, do the API integration. Uh, but generally, I think now the cudgel has to be taken up by the new country manager. So I think clearly it has to be somebody who has the local expertise, generally in any country, but I think particularly more so in the case of Japan because of the language barrier.
I see. I see. Yeah, I'd like to also talk about the language barrier a bit. I think both of you have a different solution, a product, but you deal with similar people, like banks and other financial institutions in Japan. Frankly speaking, how do you think about the language level
ありがとうございます。
of Japanese corporates, like the counterparties you interact with?
No, uh, I feel it's a challenge. It's not the first country to have that challenge in the list of countries that we operate in.
時
Uh,
間が合えば。
but the only thing I'd like to say here is that for any such difficulty that Japan poses, the fact that it is a huge market as well is something which compensates for any of these hurdles and more.
Mhm.
Right. So, and the other thing, I think, whether it was Takaki or someone who actually mentioned it, the fact is the entry hurdles for someone like us, becomes a lot higher if we are the ones who've managed to do it with a hard grind, and somebody else does not, right? So sometimes there is no shortcut to the hard work that has to be done. So language being one aspect of it, the expense being another. It is an expensive country,
Mhm.
but all of these things are things which actually give us a benefit, once we are through with all the hard work and we've got all our ducks lined up.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's very interesting. Aaron, do you have any comments to share on this topic?
Yeah, I have to say I really agree with Pratik. I mean, I think we felt this challenge. It's not like I think a lot of the Japanese industry, and the people working in the big companies, they're speaking, for example, English fluently, but still the expectation is to be able to provide content and do the calls in Japanese. Because it's just the standard, language that business is done in Japan. And it was like that in many other countries. So for example, same goes in Germany, in Europe, for example. So a lot of the people really are fluent in English, but the requirement of being able to speak German and to interact in German and provide support in German, it's something that is expected from you from the enterprise companies, and it's also a part of the requirements of the contract. They are expecting us to be able to provide support in Japanese. It's one of our commitments that we will be able to provide it. So I think it's very important to have someone on board that is able to provide that. So there's no way to start without it, I think.
Understand. That's insightful. So yeah, language is definitely a problem, but that's not just, it's not a very specific thing to Japan. It happens everywhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Takaki, we have a follow-up question about the language and what professional networking platforms do Japanese employees use other than LinkedIn? How to reach out to Japanese people?
This is, one of my headaches. I have a few portfolio companies that want to hire a country manager in Japan, and I always tell them that LinkedIn isn't the one to use in Japan. So typically, Japanese young professionals if they are open for new opportunities, they will register themselves on platforms like BizReach, or if they have a more like a startup mindset, then they might register themselves or might have an account in Wantedly. Yeah, thank you, someone, for putting the URL. Yeah, so I think if you are a foreign startup looking for a Japanese professional, then I recommend to try these ones as a start. I hope that helps. Thanks for asking your question. And I see another very interesting question in the chat. Thank you, Ved Kamat. The sales cycle in Japan is notoriously long. Yes. Was that your experience? And as startups that are probably used to running lean, were you able to find ways to speed up getting traction in Japan? Maybe both of you have actually just started to build your presence and get your early adopters. So it might be a challenging question, but would any of you like to take this?
No, I don't think there is a shortcut to this. There are countries and there are countries. There's a uniqueness in every country. I can't agree with you more whether it's a sales cycle or it is just generally anything else. I think there is that commitment to being precise. Dotting all the T's or dotting the I's and crossing the T's is very much part of the culture, and it works. So again, I don't want to repeat what I just said earlier, but everyone, as long as it's a level playing field and everyone has to go through the same thing, it doesn't matter, right? So long cycle or otherwise, language issues, as long as it's the same for everyone else, we just have to take it in our stride and go forward.
Yeah, thanks for your opinion.
I think for us, there was some kind of learning curve that I think we had to improve and learn some things along the way. So maybe some of the things were, so in Japan, we've noticed that we really have to define together with the team the business use case and the full understanding of the potential project. And for example, one of our experiences is that in one instance, we had to start a POC and we finished it. And actually the POC was defined as a success. But then due to budget issues, we understood that there's actually no progress for this specific project. So I think that now we know, and I think it applies to other places as well, but maybe more in Japan, because of our language barrier and our cultural difference, to try and put in a very organized manner, the terms of the project, the exact requirements, the timeline expected for launching this to production, try to really figure out things upfront, and then it makes things much easier for both sides. And I think that once we have that framework in place, then I think it's really a wonderful journey to work with Japanese companies. They are really curious about different aspects of the product, and they always look to learn more and to understand it deeply, much more than in different other areas. So once the need and the project and the expected result is defined, I think the process is amazing. I mean, it really feels like more than a partner than a customer, learning together, guiding together. It just needs the good foundation to kick the project and get started.
Awesome. Yeah, that resonates with me a lot. Maybe I can add a few points based on my experience supporting startups. So as Pratik mentioned, it's quite difficult to speed up the process itself, but there are a few tips that you can keep in mind to avoid unnecessary discussions. So one thing is Japanese companies love on-prem for some reason. So when you say we only have cloud, then they get, oh, wow. Do you have on-prem? So that's a very frequently asked question. So I recommend all startups to say, okay, we have two options. You can go either cloud or on-prem, whichever you like. So that's one thing you can think about. And the second thing is track record. So Japanese and corporate guys really care about track records. So maybe this is the first question that they will ask you. So if I was a startup, probably I would try to prioritize my target customers and try to get the quickest win. And then use that logo to say, hey, I already have a customer. I already have sample. I already have someone, so that it will clear many and small and unnecessary discussions. Okay, then let's slightly shift the topic. Given your
Takaki, maybe I see just one follow-up question here if you want to address it. I don't know.
Sure, great, yeah.
About the POCs I see in the chat. You want me to address it about like how to switch from POC? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Asking.
It's a nice one.
Okay, so I think for us, the experience from switching to POC to an actual project and business, it was challenging, like I described. And the first one, for example, the POC was successful, but we never were able to switch to the next level and start actually doing business. And I think is part of it is what I mentioned earlier, just understanding the foundation of the project and how to do it is, first of all, understand who you're working with. So for example, if you're doing a POC with the innovation department, then make sure that there's behind the scenes also a buyer that's interested in your product from a business department. So, and as a sales tactic, sometimes you have to play things like even not share all the information possible on the first meeting because you want to build up some curiosity about the product and get someone that's actually a potential buyer to the table to actually show the full-blown capacities of your solution. Just to try and build it up correctly. Sometimes if in the first meeting with the innovation department, you start sharing everything about the solution, so they really love it, but you sometimes don't really have the potential to do the same presentation for the person that's actually gonna approve the project afterwards. So you have to play things right to get the decision makers into the meeting when you share your capabilities of your platform.
Interesting, it's very insightful.
And maybe one more reference to what you said, Takaki. I think we are also seeing a lot of reference to on-prem in Japan. Mm-hmm. But I think on-prem is a big challenge. So it has a significant overhead on the it's a decision you have to take as a company. And we were actually able to launch our first installation in Japan in the cloud. We did have different restrictions. For example, the servers are based in Japan, but I think it paid off and it's worth considering. And I think there's now starting to see a trend of Japanese companies really starting to understand and embrace cloud. Of course, it's slow and it takes time, but it's a good opportunity to now try to get into this wave of innovation in the cloud.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not saying that you have to stick to on-prem, but it's it's just good to have some options to avoid the first, to go through 100%. The first step. Yeah, but once convincing them with the value of leveraging cloud, then they will make a good decision.
I agree, 100%.
Okay, we have 5 minutes left, and thank you everyone for asking good questions. Maybe I'd like to ask a few things about related to COVID, and you are based outside of Japan. So based on your experience interacting with Japanese enterprises, how do you think about the importance of having a physical presence in Japan? And were there any specific challenges due to COVID? Pratik, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, I think it's difficult for us to notice um, uh, just because the speed even earlier wasn't the greatest. But I personally don't see any challenge coming from the COVID specifically. Uh, so uh, I think it was never in doubt as far as I was concerned that uh, Japanese sort of accept technology well. So if you just go past the normally understood challenges which are there in terms of language and the speed and the thoroughness, etc., I think it's been the same at least as far as we are concerned.
Mm-hmm. Great, great. Aaron, any thoughts?
Yeah, so I think for us it was kind of an opportunity and also a barrier. So COVID, really did a lot of changes to the way people conduct business. And for a digital customer journey platform, it's actually sometimes it's actually an advantage because things now have to be done remotely. So you can't now send an insurance agent to sign some papers with someone. So our kind of solutions maybe sometimes benefited from this actually. But definitely we've seen, and I think not only in Japan, but depending on the current status of the pandemic, we've seen weeks where companies were less responsive, were in a process of understanding how to do work from home, and were not really open to new sales discussions, or even in projects that were already active and we've started implementation. Sometimes they told us really honestly, we are having challenges due to COVID, and probably there's going to be a delay in a few weeks for launching the project. We didn't see opportunities that stopped, but we did see delays. So, but same goes for, same for us in Israel. We had to figure out how to manage as a company the new situation and start working from home. And sometimes there are stricter lockdown rules that you have to take into account. So it's a challenge, but it's everywhere.
I see. Yeah, great to know that. Okay, I'd like to turn it. I like to shift our lenses from a Japanese corporate to a Japanese corporate perspective. So, probably most of the Japanese corporates are feeling some difficulty engaging foreign startups, and it's not always because of the language. So, based on your experience working with them, are there any advice that you could give them, or any tips that would make life easier when collaborating with a foreign startup? So I'm trying to understand how Japanese corporates can do better. So if there are any good examples you'd like to share, please feel free. Or maybe another way of asking this is, what demotivates you in a project or in a POC when you are engaging a Japanese corporate?
Time to complain.
So okay, let me take something which I have done. By the way, I'm facing the window and it's getting dark. So if anybody thinks that I'm getting tan, for every minute, it's not because I'm actually getting a tan, but the lighting in the room is not the best. Okay. I think what would really help is sometimes I feel that, and this is not a problem with Japan alone. I think it's we Asians perhaps sometimes we are not adept to saying yes or a no, right? Um, it's like beating around the bush, or basically trying to read between the lines, uh, which is kind of difficult for especially a Westerner or somebody who's Western educated, or like, let's get on with it. Let's find out what the real answer is. So you have to really peel the onion to really figure out what's going on in their minds. I think it's a generic problem. I think it would be very good if somebody is upfront and has a general discussion and says, look, this is what I want. If you can give that, we can do a deal. And if not, let's not waste each other's time. I think that would be a good attitude.
Good point.
That's me.
Yeah. They often say yes, but they don't agree, or they want to say yes, but they just reserve their position and stay neutral. So a person talking with them could, start worrying about themselves. Did I say something wrong, or if they don't like it, or things like that? Yeah, that's a very good point. Aaron, any comments?
I have to say, I've seen similar things, and I generally think that it's not necessarily because it's something in the Japanese culture or something. I really think that it's maybe the cultural difference of how we, I don't know, as an Israeli-based company, usually talk and express ourselves, and how Japanese people do it, and sometimes it's just not exactly the same. So for us, some of the challenges was really to try and understand what kind of parts of our solution are clear to the buyer and what are not, and what really needs more reinforcement and training and what are not. And I don't know if there's an easy way to overcome it, but maybe like Pratik said, I mean, I don't know, Israelis are very straightforward, and if something is wrong, they're going to tell you that. So I don't know if it's something that we can do something about it, but we definitely want to know if something is wrong, if something doesn't make sense. Feel free to say it. We'd rather know it. We're not going to take it as a personal thing. We really want to know it because it helps us respond better and provide better feedback for your needs. So
yeah, absolutely. I always tell Japanese LPs and Japanese enterprises that express your thoughts. If you think it's good, then just say it's good. It's anyway a B2B product, so everybody knows that you're not going to make a decision right now on your own. It's an enterprise decision, so it will take time, and multiple stakeholders will come in. But if you like it and you want to, bring it to the next step, why don't you just tell them so? And that will be a great feedback. And even though even though you don't like it, it's no problem. Just tell them what you don't like or what doesn't work, and that will be a very helpful feedback for startups to grow their business. Yeah, good point. Sasha, I'm wondering if we should close this session, or
completely fine.
How should we?
if both of our speakers, you guys are okay, we can slightly extend the event. It's completely fine since we have some very important questions and answered.
Yeah, I'm okay. I think I can stay for another 5-10 minutes. Pratik, Aaron, how about you? Do you have any?
I think a few minutes, because I'm an early eater and it's getting dinner time here.
A few minutes is okay for me as well.
All right. Sasha, would you like to highlight any questions that we are receiving from the audience?
Yeah, there was one question that was supposed to ask it about the local competitors. Do you guys have local competitors that you know about? And we have a question in the chat: what makes Japanese customers choose a foreign company over a Japanese? So in other words, how do you deal with local competitors in Japan?
Okay, so I'll explain that. Not necessarily because we've got a lot of business in Japan, but Japan would be no different. I'm pretty confident when compared to others. So any business that one wants to win has to be on the back of something differential that you're able to offer against not just local competition but any competition, right? So if your product or your sales proposition is something which is strong, then it'll hold no matter what the competition. In our case, it's the fact that we are a global entity, and the fact that we are able to offer so many different currencies and different products, etc., etc. And I don't want to get into use cases, but it becomes interesting if somebody wants a flexibility to say, I want to, either pay or issue cards in one country, but I also want to do it in 15 other countries, right? So then suddenly it becomes an interesting proposition. So for us, whether it's a local competition or it's an international competition, we are never afraid, because we know what the capabilities. The issue at our end is always that we are a low profile company, and how many people actually do, or companies actually do, understand what our capabilities are. I think that's where I'd like to leave it.
Interesting.
Maybe just, I think, to add a little bit. So I think on our end, we did have cases where companies we've talked to, they told us that they are considering several options, and some of the options were local. I don't know actually about, specific names. They haven't shared it with us. But I think that from our experience, it looks like the Japanese market is really open for innovation, and they're mostly looking at the value proposition that each company has, rather than where its headquarters is based, or
Yep.
So that hasn't been like something that we've seen as an issue, but it's still early stage for us in Japan as well. So maybe we'll see it as a challenge in the future.
Yeah, valid point. Thanks, Aaron. And yeah, and thanks. We have a lot of follow-up questions, and it's getting a bit tricky for me to read all of these English. Sasha, would you like to help me?
Yeah, they're like the last question is also interesting. You guys, do you have any tips and tricks on negotiations with Japanese partners? If you have any, I'd like to hear.
Don't try and do things in a hurry. Take your time.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I can share my experience. I was helping a US portfolio company to break into a Japanese logistics company, and they did a good presentation. They really liked it, and they expressed that they would like to take it to the next step. But after that call, they were like silent for a week, and the company started worrying about things, and they came to me and said, "Takaki, should I bring my CEO? Should I give a very good price on that? And then what should I do?" So I told them, just stay quiet. It's just it. Never bring in your CEO that was just afraid, make them afraid. So and after a few months, they got that contract. So yeah, I think Pratik, what you said is really valid.
The time takes a different shape in Japan.
Yeah, it's a different timeline.
Cool, guys. I think that probably if you have any announcements, and I've heard that you guys probably have some job openings from your side, feel free to share it with the audience before we wrap up the event.
I think from our side, we definitely will be looking for to build. We have a very large contract. In fact, we are committed to, and we have to implement it by, I think, sometime Q3 of this year. So for us, we are looking for a number of specialists in compliance operations, even customer service. And we will possibly also end up hiring a few tech people as well. But the tech people, obviously the way that our systems are built, there are different writing skills or language skills that are required. Something is JS Node, something is something else. So, it'll be a really specific thing. So I'll possibly, see how to, get the right, go to the right, search engines, etc., to, put our requirements across. But if I really hope people are there on the LinkedIn, or that's where at least somebody can follow our company, and if we put up a job requirement, it can come up there. Otherwise, I can't really offer anything else, which is right now it's a requirement. Maybe in the next 1 month or so, we will need some people in compliance and operations and CS.
Yeah, no problem. Great.
And I think from our end, so mostly we're currently not hiring a local team this year in Japan. I think what's more interesting on my perspective is we are looking for potential partners. We are in talks with several partners, like IT service providers or resellers that are really interested in providing and uplifting the digital experience services they can provide to their customers. And also, if you are, an insurance company, a bank, a large health corporation, and looking for an easy way to build and maintain hundreds of complicated digital processes, I think we'd love to talk and see if we can do business together.
Cool.
Yeah.
We have a tech community here, and from the poll, we clearly saw that we have a lot of people from the enterprises. So I'm pretty sure someone from the audience will definitely reach out to you guys. Is there any way, by the way, to reach out for potential partners? How they will be able to contact you guys?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is if you are a Japanese enterprise and interested in exploring partnerships with Neum or EasySend, you can just contact me and I can help to navigate it. And or another way is just find them on LinkedIn and send a direct message if you want.
So I've just shared my email ID.
Great.
So maybe, and then maybe you can do the same. And yeah, that's it. So I guess it's in case anybody has questions or anything they'd like to discuss, this is like an easy way for us.
And also, Takaki, if I think, also Takaki sometimes helps us a lot in facilitating these talks. So feel free to reach out directly to me or to him. Thank you a lot for offering your help, Takaki.
Thank you, everyone.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, my amazing speakers, Takaki. You nailed today's talk, and thank you for the audience for staying with us. Sorry for extending just a bit. I really hope you enjoyed the talk. It was very insightful, and now we will wrap it up, letting Pratik go have his dinner.
Thank you very much. My stomach is rumbling.
Me too.
For me, it's lunchtime, so
thank you, everyone.
Everyone in his own meal.
Yeah, that's amazing. Today we had the presenters from Japan, Singapore, Israel, and I'm pretty sure the audience also coming from different countries. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Please stay in touch with us. Feel free to follow our events at Never Gone Meetup, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Sasha.
Bye.